Hey, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to another edition of BYOB, Be Your Own Bartender. And if there is a time to be your own bartender, it is definitely no. I mean, it's been a crazy couple of months here in the US of A and around the world as well. But hey, you always got to find the silver lining and give yourself the opportunity to learn a new skill. My name is Darrio Prescod, and I'm the National Brand Ambassador for Mount Gay Rum based in New York City. And from the first couple of words, the first few sentences I have said, you can definitely tell that I do not have an American accent. I am from the island of Barbados, which is where this rum we're going to be talking about is coming from as well, which also happens to be the birthplace of rum. So I basically educate people about this fantastic brand, teaching them new cocktails, giving some nice history behind the brand, giving some interesting tidbits about the brand as well, and just overall having fun while doing it. And in this position, I've had the opportunity to make some great friends and meet some even more fantastic people. So you guys have joined us here today because we're going to be making a few cocktails featuring one of our rums within the portfolio. So, I mean, again, I encourage you, if you have any questions that might come to mind, feel free to go for it. Yeah, drop a message in the chat. I'll see if I can just lean in and see if I can read it off and give my opinion on what it is that you might be trying to find out. But hey, that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be for the next 15, 20 minutes or so. So now you got my attention, and thank you so much for giving me your company on this lovely Friday evening. I think it's a fantastic way to get the weekend started. So if you guys don't know it, this rum that we're talking about, Mount Gay Rum, is actually the oldest brand of rum in the world. It's been around since 1703, actually, up until this very day. As I mentioned earlier, it's hailing from Barbados, which also happens to be the birthplace of rum. But this entire story started because of a crop called sugarcane. And from this sugarcane, everyone was trying to get the sugar. But in the process of extracting that sugar, there was another byproduct created, a thick, syrupy substance that was dumped into the ocean by the barrel full because no one could find any use for it whatsoever. It was molasses. So when they realized that the fermentation of the molasses could be distilled into rum, it offset the cost of running the refinery, and essentially it doubled the profits. And molasses became known as black gold. So as you can imagine, refineries just started popping up all over the island of Barbados. Now you hear the name Mount Gay and you wonder how exactly do you get a name like Mount Gay? What's even more hilarious is that the plantation was owned by a guy named John Sober. And I find it very ironic that a man owning a rum plantation, last name would be Sober. But he had hired his friend and colleague, Sir John Gay, to streamline the business and the craft of refining the rum. He did such a great job that when he died in 1801, the family decided to honor him. And they did this by naming the plantation after him. And that is how we got our name, Mount Gay Rum. The mount aspect came about because anything over 50 feet in Barbados was considered to be a mountain. And that is actually very hilarious because, 50 feet doesn't really constitute, of what you need to be considered a mountain. But that's funny because unlike a lot of the other Caribbean islands, which would have been formed based on volcanic activity, Barbados is actually made from coral limestone, which happens to be a very porous stone. So if you were to take a drive around the island of Barbados, you're not going to find any rivers, lakes, nothing of the sort, because all of the water is simply filtering through the rock and settling in underground caves. So because of this natural filtration that is taking place, we then have a very mineral-rich water in Barbados. We also have the second highest number of centenarians in the world, and they tend to attribute that to the quality of the water that we have in Barbados. So I'll let you in on a little secret right now. I know you won't believe me, but I'm actually 58, but don't tell anyone. But no, I don't live in Barbados anymore. You're gonna see the wrinkles starting to settle in just a bit. But anyhow, enough chatter. Let's get into making the cocktails. Now, if you ever had the opportunity to take a trip to Barbados, there's one drink, there's one cocktail you can guarantee that you will always be welcome with. It could be at the airport, it could be at the hotel, it could be at Harrison's Cave if you're going to do a tour. It will definitely be a rum punch. And it's a very simple cocktail that you can make in the comfort of your home. Majority of the time you can serve this as a punch, so you can definitely do it in a batch form. But today we're going to be making it as a singular cocktail. And it's a very refreshing drink that follows a very simple rhyme if you wanted to follow along how you needed to make it, if you wanted to do like big amounts. So it will be 1 sour, 2 sweet, 3 strong, 4 weak. So 1 sour being your lime juice, 2 sweet being your simple syrup, 3 strong is your rum, 4 weak your ice, and a combination of water, and you pretty much got yourself a rum punch. And as you go, you know, just like cooking, you taste it, you tweak it, you taste it, you tweak it, and you keep it going again and again and again. Now, this particular cocktail is going to be made using the Mount Gay Eclipse rum, which I consider to be the perfect mixable rum. This rum first came out in 1910, and it got its name because of the occurrence of a solar eclipse that occurred that same year. And Timothy Thornhill said, I'm going to make this rum to commemorate how the eclipse pretty much looked, that golden amber color that you're getting here. So anytime you're looking to have like a rum and coke, a rum and soda water with lime, or a rum punch that I mentioned earlier, Eclipse is definitely the way to go. So what's also important to understand is that they are different types of rums for different purposes. So Eclipse is definitely a rum that I would recommend for mixing, and not one that you would sip. So I would not tell you to pour this on ice and just sip it watching a beautiful sunset, nothing of the sort. I would tell you to always make it in a cocktail, which is what we're gonna do right now. So you could mix this in a mixing glass, but I'm gonna be building it directly in my glass that I have here. And this is made inside of a Collins glass, basically. I'll begin by filling my glass with some ice, pretty much all the way to the top. And I will begin by adding 1.5 ounces of the Eclipse rum. I'm lying, I'm going to add 2 ounces, but the recipe calls for 1.5 ounces. Getting a bit greedy there. And you already get the wonderful aroma that's coming through from the Eclipse rum. This requires 3/4 ounce of simple syrup. Just as it says, simple syrup, super easy to make. Equal parts water and sugar, and you're pretty much good to go. Pouring that directly in my glass. And I'm going to be using just 1/2 ounce of some lime juice. I'm going to be adding a couple dashes of bitters to my glass as well. Bitters are amazing. Pretty much adds another layer of flavor to your drink. And I'm also going to be adding some nutmeg. So if you notice, the only juice that goes into making a rum punch is the lime juice. So the color that you would find coming from a rum punch comes from the usage of your bitters. In this case, I'm using the aromatic bitters. And then what I will go ahead and do at this point is just top it up with some water just to balance it all out. Then I'm just going to add a bit more bitters on the top. Bit more of this nutmeg to get a wonderful aroma as you're enjoying this drink. And I'm just going to give it a nice stir. And this is a cocktail that is very refreshing. As I said, super easy to make, very refreshing, definitely a summertime drink. And you see the color really starting to push through. So at this point, the only thing left to do is to garnish. I'm going to garnish with an orange wedge. I'm going to garnish with a lime wedge as well. And just like that, I have made a nice rum punch. Cheers. No, that's a really great way. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, that's a really great way to get the weekend started off for sure. Very light, very refreshing. And it shows the beautiful thing about the Eclipse rum as well, because it's not always a case that you want to be drinking a rum and you want to be tasting your rum inside of your cocktail. So the Eclipse is definitely a rum that's going to be balanced. So it's not a case that you're going to be tasting the Eclipse rum. You always want a rum that's going to complement the other ingredients inside of your cocktail, as opposed to necessarily overpowering the other ingredients inside of your cocktail. So even though there is some rum inside of this wonderfully made rum punch that we have here, it's not a case that you're going to be tasting it. It is playing its role in the cocktail as it relates to the flavors that you need to be pushing through, but it's never a case that you feel as though, ooh, this is too strong. So it's understanding the purpose of a rum and then using it to suit that purpose. And from there on out, you would never have any issues whatsoever. I honestly just need to take another sip of this because I even surprised myself with this rum punch right here. I mean, yeah, I've made a few of them, but this is actually a particularly good rum punch. And that's a Bajan rum punch right there. So you would hear me say I'm a Barbadian, but if I'm speaking dialect, I will say that I am a Bajan. So I am a Barbadian, standard English. If I'm speaking dialect, I will say that I is a Bajan. So Bajan, Barbadian, one and the same, just like that, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, I'm going to be making another cocktail for you as well, but what you should also know is that the where Mount Gay is located and the terroir of the island of Barbados has a lot to do with how our rums produce their character and produce their flavors as well. Because of the fermentation process that is needed, it's done in the open air. So that is now dependent on like the soil type that you have in St. Lucie, Barbados, where the distillery is located. That's now dependent on the sea salt coming off of the ocean, how the wind is blowing. All of these are different elements that would be helping the rum to develop the character that is very unique to St. Lucie, Barbados. We're using a number of different types of stills in the process to produce the character, but what's also very important to note is that we do not necessarily depend on physical age, and it's a lot more about maturity. Now, fun fact, because we are in the Caribbean, the rum is going to mature almost as 3 times as fast as when compared to a colder climate. So a 5-year-old barrel of rum can be compared to a 15-year-old barrel of whiskey. So for us, it's not about the physical age of the spirit. It is so much more about the actual maturity. And that's why we have our master blender, whose name is Trudy Ann Branker. So she has to constantly go into the barrel warehouses, interacting with the barrels, making sure that they are maturing in a way that we deem to be just right for to be used inside of a blend called Mount Gay rum. All right, so I'm gonna move into the second cocktail that I'm gonna be making. This is gonna require a shaker. It's called Black Gold. As you just heard me say earlier, because of the wealth and the profits that came with realizing that molasses could be made into rum, it was referred to as Black Gold. So this particular drink is going to be utilizing the Mount Gay Eclipse rum as well. We're going to be using some orgeat syrup, which is some almond syrup. Almond syrup is basically made with almonds, sugar, in addition to some rose water as well. And we're going to be using some lime juice as well and topping it off with a bit of bitters. So what you're realizing is that these cocktails contain very few ingredients. They're never too complicated either. They keep it super simple, pretty much to ensure that, they're for ease of making them and encouraging people to want to try them at home as well. So if you don't have the Mount Gay Eclipse rum, the Mount Gay Black Barrel would also be a nice option as well. Mount Gay XO, I would definitely say that's one for sipping. You need that on its own. Just have it on ice with a nice old fashioned, probably. That would be a great way to enjoy the XO. But either the Eclipse or the Mount Gay Black Barrel could be great options for making this cocktail that I'm about to make right now. All right, so let's go for it. So this is going to require me to be using 2 ounces of the Eclipse rum. And guys, I'm really honored to be here chatting with you guys. I always relish every opportunity to teach people about my home while teaching them about the rum as well. It's a very tiny island. It's the most easterly of the Caribbean islands, only 166 square miles, which is like 21 miles high and 14 miles wide. So you can understand it's a very, very small island, but 280,000 of the friendliest people you could probably find anywhere in the world. 280,000 minus 1 because I'm not there anymore. I'm here. I'm going to be using some orgeat syrup. I'm just going to use a ½ ounce of this syrup. So that almond flavor that you're going to be getting there is great because that's actually one of the signature aromas and flavors that you get from Mount Gay rum. You get almond, you get ripe banana, dark chocolate, and vanilla as well. So which means using orgeat with the Eclipse rum is a definite complementation of the flavors of this particular cocktail. And I'm going to be using a ½ ounce as well of lime juice. So in essence, this is like a sour or like a daiquiri, using equal amounts of my sweet versus my my sour to always ensure that you always have a very balanced cocktail. And again, I'm just going to be adding a few dashes of bitters. I always tend to overdo it a bit on the bitters. I always do about 3 dashes. Some people do about 1 dash. And the only thing left to do at this point is to add some ice. So I saw some questions pop up after I make this cocktail. Don't worry. I'll check out some of those questions and see what's really going on. See who was talking to me. See who was in the neighborhood, and just relaxing and having fun on a nice Friday evening, watching me make some cocktails. All right. So only thing I have to do now is give it a nice shake, and you gotta give a nice, beautiful smile while shaking. Nice. And a nice indicator as it relates to knowing that your cocktail is ready after giving it a nice shake. Obviously, the condensation starts to occur. So the rule that I use is like it's too cold to hold. If it becomes a bit too cold to hold, you know that your drink is pretty much ready. Having a great aroma. Gonna pour this into my glass. Oh, this looks amazing. A bit more in there. There you go. And the only thing I have to do is give this a garnish. I'm going to be using a lime peel. Just give it a nice twist. Prop it on the side of the glass. And there you have yourself a black gold made with Mount Gay Eclipse rum. My favorite part, obviously, is the drinking. So once again, not too aggressive at all. I mean, if you do prefer to have a very spirit-forward cocktail, that's where a Manhattan would come into the picture. That's where Old Fashioned would come into the picture, or a Sazerac. But if you're looking for something that's really refreshing, very easy to drink, and you could probably go back for a few, these are the style cocktails that you definitely want. Something that's very tall, very refreshing in the form of a rum punch, or something that pretty much resembles a daiquiri as a base style drink, or like a sour, and just always alternating your sweetener. So I use Arjot syrup in this case, but if you wanted to get creative, I mean, you could use like a basil syrup as well, or maybe try like a mint syrup, and that's something that you can definitely do at home. Get yourself a pot, add some equal amounts of sugar and some water, drop some mint leaves inside of there, just stir it, let it steep, bring it to a boil, let it steep, and you got yourself a mint syrup. And just substituting the Arjot syrup for the mint syrup, that gives you a completely different taste and something that's equally as enjoyable as well. But this is the Black Gold cocktail, and that was the rum punch. Oh wow, that's a beautiful drink. Let me just take a look here and see a couple of the questions. Okay, looks good. What's the difference between the gold rum and the dark rum? That's a fantastic question, and one that I can definitely answer for you. It's a very simple difference. So the longer the rum sits inside of the barrel, the darker it will become. So the Eclipse, these are a blend of rums, 2 years inside of the barrel. Mount Gay Black Barrel, a blend of rums in the barrel for 3 to 7 years. XO, 5 to 17. So that's another point to know. All of Mount Gay rums are always going to be blends, all right? So the longer it sits in the barrel, the darker it will become. So there are some instances that you're gonna find some really, really dark rums. There are some people that will be adding a caramel to give it like a really dark color. But from sitting inside of the barrel naturally over a period of time, it will start to get darker and darker and darker. So these marks that I have here, each of these will be sitting inside of the barrels for different periods of time, all right? Let's see what else we have here. We are happy you can join us as we become our own bartenders. If you have any questions, would you suggest any low calorie rum drinks for an upcoming party I am planning? Ooh, Beverly, low calorie. So this is what you could probably make, and it's really, really refreshing. So it's called the Island Breeze. So all you need to get, you can use the Mount Gay Eclipse rum, or you can use the Mount Gay Black Barrel as well. Either or could work. So you're going to use some Mount Gay Eclipse rum. You're going to get some carrot juice. You can make a ginger syrup, some lime juice. And then what you do, you shake that, you pour it into a glass, and you top it up with coconut water. And right there, you have something that is really low calorie, kind of healthy as well, and a really tasty drink too. So yeah, as I said, so like carrot juice, Mount Gay Eclipse rum or Mount Gay Black Barrel, some ginger syrup. Again, super easy to make in your home, or you could buy it as well. Check out online. You could probably buy some ginger syrup, some lime juice, and then you top that up with some coconut water, and I guarantee you that you would not be disappointed. Right? That would be a really, really, really nice and refreshing cocktail that would definitely match everything that you are going for. I'm sure you're gonna find yourself making a couple of those. It will definitely be a hit at your party for sure. All right. What else could I possibly share with you about the brand? I already told you it's the oldest brand of rum. Cheese on bread. I am going to try that. That's funny. So cheese on bread is like that's like a Bayesian expression basically. So like I guess here you'll be like, oh no, you gotta be kidding me. So in Barbados, it's like, oh, cheese on bread. So that's like a real Bayesian expression that I see from Chuck sharing inside of the chat. And that's always interesting to see the things that resonate with people as it relates to their interactions with the island as well. But as I said, Mount Gay rum, oldest brand of rum in the world. There's a little bit of something for everyone. If you're into mixing, definitely the Eclipse is the one for you. If you're looking for something that falls right in the middle, good for mixing and sipping, Mount Gay Black Barrel is the one for you. If you're looking for something that's outright sippable, that will be the Mount Gay XO as well. It also makes a fantastic gift as well. And each of them have a completely different character. Each of them fall within their own category, and they do not overlap at all. We made a rum punch today. Again, rum, lime juice, simple syrup, nutmeg, bitters, topping it up with some water. You're pretty much on your way. And we also made a black bowl utilizing some orgeat syrup, some lime juice, some bitters as well. Obviously, the Mount Gay Eclipse rum. And those are the two cocktails that I really look forward to hearing about you guys making in the comfort of your home. So obviously, having good ingredients is definitely step one to making sure that you are making some really amazing cocktails. And once you have an amazing rum, you're pretty much on your way. So the oldest brand of rum in the world, and it's pretty much, you know, if you've been making something for over 300 years, I mean, we could be making pencils, we could be making shoes, we could be making cars. If you've been doing something for over 300 years, you definitely have like a certain type of expertise in that particular area. But it's been great. Thank you so much for having me here with you. It's been amazing. I always, as I said, I always relish the opportunity to share the story of Mount Gay rum and also educate people a bit about my island and share a bit of the culture as well. And this has been amazing and a great way for me to start off my Friday evening leading into the weekend. So I encourage all of you to be your own bartenders. Go out there, try your cocktails. You don't need to know 1,000,001 different cocktails. Perfect one, and that will then be your signature drink. So once again, thank you so much for joining us here for BYOB. My name is Darrio Prescod, signing off. Cheers to you guys, man. Thank you so much for being here.